Hello and welcome back to this episode of the Engage 8 podcast. I am Josh with my co-host Mike. Today we are recapping week 5 of the NFL season. We're going to talk about every game from Thursday night all the way up until Sunday night. We will talk about Monday Night Football, college football, and preview week 6 on our next episode later on in the week. But today we are focusing on the 13 games ahead of us, starting off with Thursday Night Football. The Falcons beat the Buccaneers 36-30 in overtime. This was a great game. Kirk goes for 509 passing yards in this one on 58 pass attempts. London and Mooney dominated for the Falcons. London is truly becoming a number one target for Kirk and his Falcons offense. I think he's going to be great in fantasy going forward here. Baker had a pretty solid day as well, though. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and the Bucs actually ran it pretty solid against the Falcons compared to what they've been doing for most of the past couple of years. Bucks absolutely should have won this game. They truly choked this one away. They needed to get a first down just to ice this one, and they just couldn't do it. They punted to the Falcons, and the rest is history on that one. And then the Falcons win the coin toss in overtime and drive down and get it done late. Falcons now have huge wins over New Orleans and Tampa Bay. That's going to be huge for them going forward as far as tiebreakers. And when we're talking about this division at the end of the year, I think both these teams are solid, but I think at the same time, they're also random and we don't truly know. All these games with these 3 teams are going to be coin flips, but Falcons start 2-0 in them, and that's huge for them.
Falcons seem to have a flair for the dramatics so far this year. Another game late. Young Wei Koo, however you want to say it, is phenomenal. Again, he missed a couple kicks in this game, but when it matters the most, he comes and delivers and hits a big kick to force overtime. They go down. Kirk Cousins goes right down the field and wins the game. He had 509 yards, like you said. He was phenomenal. His best game as a Falcon so far, 4 touchdowns and 1 pick. He was great. 58 pass attempts from him was phenomenal. But Buccaneers, they had this game. They should have won it. I thought they were going to win it up until they don't get it. They give the ball back to the Falcons. And when the Falcons got that ball late in the fourth quarter, you kind of just knew that they're going to get the ball in coup range and he's going to hit the kick and go to overtime. Falcons win the coin toss then, and Kadarius Hodge gets a big play to win the game. Kirk Cousins in overtime, 3 for 3, 69 yards. He was great. And the duo, really, of Darnell Mooney and Drake London so far this season has been elite almost. Darnell Mooney is really shining in this role. He's still wide receiver 2, but he's getting a lot of he's getting targets like a wide receiver 1, still 16 targets in this game, 9 catches, 105 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Him and Drake London is a very good duo. And even Kyle Pitts comes in big this game with 7 catches for 88 yards. The pass game for the Falcons dominated the Bucs defense. They couldn't run the ball as good as you would want them to. Bijan's kind of struggled these last few weeks, but this offense is starting to really figure it out, and they're going to be dangerous for the Bucs. It's just a game where your defense couldn't slow down Kirk Cousins and the Falcons enough to win you the game, especially late. You gave up 550 yards. Can't let that happen. It's unfortunate. They have a very hard schedule going ahead this year. They still got to play the Saints, Ravens, Falcons again, Chiefs, and 49ers, and that's just the next 5 weeks. So this was a game you really kind of wanted to have when you're up late. They're going to have to, it's going to be interesting to see how they come out of that 5-game stretch.
Yeah, I think they're well coached enough where we're not going to see them come out of it like 0-5 or 1-4. I think they minimum win 2 of those games, and they're sitting at what, 3-2 right now?
Yeah.
So you come out of that stretch 5-5. I think you feel, or wait, yeah, 5-5. I think
Yeah.
you feel all right at that point. And then I don't have their schedule in front of me, but I'm assuming it eases up a little bit after that. So
It can't really get much harder than that right there. So
yeah, exactly. And a couple NFC South teams in there, we definitely wouldn't be saying that was a hard schedule preseason, but hey,
yeah.
here they
I
are.
mean, they got Panthers, Raiders, Chargers 3 weeks in a row late. Panthers again.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah, they got 2. They still have to play the Panthers twice, which is nice for that division there. But moving on here to a team that's in a division that is not easy. The Vikings beating the Jets in London 23-17. The Vikings move to 5-0. I believe they're the only 5-0 team at the moment, with the Chiefs still having to play tonight against the Saints. And the Jets dropped to 2-3. Rodgers got banged up in this one and threw 3 picks. Very uncharacteristic from him. Not what you expected to see, but this Vikings defense has really been able to get to the quarterback, force a lot of bad throws, and force turnovers by doing that. So that has really given them all the success they needed. The Vikings came out in the first half defensively super, super hot. They gave themselves a cushion for the second half, which they were going to need. honestly, we were talking about this before we started recording, but the Vikings offense just did not look good in this one at all. I missed the first quarter. I watched the second through fourth, and unless I missed some crazy throws from Darnold in the first quarter, which looking back, I don't think I did, he missed a ton of throws in those last three quarters. He was overthrowing guys on short routes, medium routes, deep routes. He finishes 14 for 31. Only one interception. He does get sacked four times in this one. Jets defense is good, so I don't want to hold the Vikings too accountable for a bad offensive performance, but they didn't run the ball too well. Ty Chandler leads them in rushing with 30 yards on 14 carries. Aaron Jones 7 for 29. Not what you want from him either, but the Vikings, they have to be able to perform better offensively. Luckily, they were so good on defense and have been so good on defense this year with Brian Flores that they're giving Sam Darnold, who we know can look great at times, but also cannot look great at times. They're giving him a cushion where he can be able to succeed and not have to score 30 points a game like some other teams that we'll talk about here later. But sub 50% completion for Darnold in this one. The Jets almost come back because Minnesota just could not move the ball well at all in the second half. And it led to Aaron Rodgers starting to get a little bit comfortable late. We see Garrett Wilson get a touchdown in this one. I think the Vikings are a good team, but I do think the fall off is coming soon for them. I don't think they're going to fall off a cliff. I mean, they're 5-0. They're probably going to be a playoff team, honestly, but they would have to absolutely fall off a cliff to not be a playoff team at this point. But they've got the line. They have a bye week next week, and then they have the Lions, which is just a huge game from them. If they can beat the Lions, they're going to be looking great, especially with Rams, Indy, Jacksonville, Tennessee as their next four after that. If they beat the Lions, they could absolutely go 10-0. But like I like we said about the Steelers a few years ago when they were 10-0, you got to see you play who you play. I get that, but at the same time, you have to hold them accountable and they haven't played. They're not going to be playing the best teams in that stretch. They have beaten some good teams. They've beaten the Texans, the Jets. I do think are a good team, but if they can if they can beat the Lions after their bye week, they're going to be in a really good spot, especially with the Lions having to go to Dallas and then they have to go to Minnesota when Minnesota gets a whole bye week to prepare for the best team in their division. That game is going to be huge for this division going forward, especially when the tiebreakers come out. And for the Jets, if they didn't have such a bad first half, they probably would have won this game. They're a really hard team to read right now. I think Rodgers is going to be okay. He looked great late in that one. The problem is he at 40 years old does not need to be throwing the ball 54 times in a game. That does not need to happen. His O-line hasn't been great blocking for him. And when you just, I mean, Breece Hall, we were talking about CMC being one of the most disappointing fantasy picks this year. I mean, Breece Hall was going 3-4, and he's been horrible to start this year. Jets are a hard team to read right now, and I can't imagine Rodgers is too happy with how this first stretch of the season has gone.
Yeah, he can't be happy at all, but he did. I mean, 50, that's what, 53% from Rodgers with three interceptions. That is not something you expect to see from Aaron Rodgers at all. Wasn't great in this one, but this Vikings defense is very good. And I feel like every time we see these overseas games in London or Germany, the offenses kind of tend to struggle, especially early in the games, and that's what we
The
saw here from the
Lunders,
Jets.
as they
Yeah,
call it.
yeah, Lunders. I like that. And they can't run the ball either with Breece Hall or Braylon Allen. None of them could get going, and we've talked about it all season that you have to run the football to be pretty successful on offense. Didn't see that one in this one from the Jets. Didn't see it from the Vikings either, but their defense was able to win it for him. Andrew Van Ginkel, we see him get a pick six. He's been one of the very good pickups for this Vikings defense and has really showed out. Stephon Gilmore, late signing, I think maybe during training camp or right before training camp. He gets the interception to seal the game. He's just been so consistent these last couple of years. Just continues to get the job done, even though he's getting older as an older cornerback. But the Vikings defense, again, just the story of the game and story of the season so far for them, dominating. Aaron Rodgers finally seemed to kind of get on track with Garrett Wilson in this one. They hadn't been kind of in sync so far this season, but we see that in this one with 13 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown for him. He had 22 targets, which is just a wildly large number. With all the Devontae Adams trade rumors, I don't know how that's going to affect Garrett Wilson overall or this offense, but it's nice to see him finally get going. And for the Vikings, you didn't have your best offensive game, but your defense is able to get it done. It's kind of all you can ask for. Justin Jefferson has a solid game. He seems to always do that. If they can win this, they can win in multiple ways, and I think that's going to be one of the reasons why they're the best teams in the NFC so far, and going to continue to be one of the best teams in the NFC.
Yeah, do you even have a prediction for where Devontae is going to go? At this point, I don't feel strongly about any team. I don't.
I don't feel strongly about any team. I feel like it almost just is going to be the Jets just because I think they know they have to make a move for their offense.
But at the same time, they go and they trade for Hassan Reddick this summer, and then they don't pay him, and he just doesn't play for them. So they don't seem to be too active on improving
Yeah.
their roster at the moment. Not that
Yeah,
they
that,
need Hassan Reddick, but
I mean, I think they could definitely use Hassan Reddick. I just think the whole situation with Hassan Reddick is just kind of,
it's odd.
it's just odd. It's
Which
odd
makes
on
me
both
think,
ends.
are they just gonna let that happen and then okay, let's just go trade for a wide receiver who makes like 30 million a year? I don't
Yeah.
know. I just
I
don't
mean,
see
they
that
have the
happening.
cap space for it, but the only reason I can see that happening is because at this point it kind of seems like they're firm on almost not paying Hassan Reddick. And
Yeah. I yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do. I honestly think I could see the Steelers. I really could see the Steelers. I know
I
Diana
don't,
Rossini said that the Steelers want to pay up after missing out on Ayuk. I could see it. I would love that for the Steelers too.
I'd love it for the Steelers, but I just don't know how that would go for them. I think they just need to focus on getting better at running the ball, and
I
their
agree.
offensive line's banged up. So,
I agree. That's the problem though. Their offensive line isn't even bad. Like years past, they haven't run it well because their offensive line's been bad. But
yeah,
now they're just beat up. They down a guard, down one of the better centers in the league so far. And I don't know. We talked about it preseason. Their wide receiver core isn't good, so
no.
they could definitely use Devontae. George Pickens, I personally don't think is a true wide
And
receiver one still, but he'd be a good wide
your
receiver
take on that
two.
has been very good so far this year. I was looking, it was maybe in like the third quarter or halftime, and they had the wide receiver splits for snaps played, and he was like third or fourth for the Steelers in wide receiver snaps played. I think Van Jefferson was over him and Calvin Austin. So,
He just doesn't get open that often. But when he does, he has great hands and he can make plays
oh yeah,
over guys. But it's hard to be a number one wide receiver if your most of your plays are go up and get it over a guy. It's hard to be. I mean, Calvin was that, but he also got open. Like DK can do that, but DK also gets open. Like
and then when you don't get the ball or don't make the plays, you cost your team an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty
yeah,
and
I
only
mean,
hurt
not,
them and
not
put
to
yourself
say
in the
that
doghouse.
Devontae isn't starting to become a little bit of a diva too, and those two on a team together would be
I
kind of
mean,
funny.
I can't really think of a time he's really gotten an unsportsmanlike conduct in the
No, no,
aspect of
no.
just like,
Devontae definitely hasn't, but he is requesting a trade.
yeah. I mean,
And
he didn't do that in Green Bay though. That was just Green Bay moving on,
yeah,
I guess.
I thought he did request a trade though.
I don't think he did because I think that was just the whole. I mean,
Maybe
they
he
had
didn't
the
request a
last
trade.
dance on IG posts
Oh
with
yeah,
him
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Rodgers.
I forgot. God, Jesus Christ, I forgot about that. That even that is so crazy. It's crazy to think. I mean, we could kind of tie it back into the Jets now with how Aaron Rodgers looked just a few years ago. And I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
he does look slower with his Achilles injury. He for sure looks slower, but I wouldn't say that's the main reason why he's not looking good. He just, I don't know. I think
I
they
mean,
would benefit a lot from Devontae. I just don't know if they'll do
oh,
it.
100%. I mean, we talked about it on our division preview. We had looked back at his stats from a couple years ago, and it was what like 53 touchdowns and 3 picks,
Yeah.
just something ridiculous. Yeah,
And I think I probably said something outlandish like they're gonna smoke the division this year or some shit, but
yeah.
I'll
It
take my
was
victory lap on the Bills later. But
48 touchdowns and 5 picks.
yeah, I mean
So,
it's tough to beat that. But we'll move on here to the Bears beating the Panthers 36-10. This is, in my opinion, the best game of Caleb Williams' young career so far. Waldron had him throwing a ton of short routes that really helped him get into a rhythm early. Didn't have him doing too much, had him rolling out on a lot of play actions and just throwing little drag routes, which helped him so much because he's so good when he gets out of the pocket like that. And when he doesn't have to throw it super, super deep, he's had so many overthrows this year on deep balls that we've been saying on this pod, we need them to run a lot of short passes for him, let him get in rhythm, and then you could test his arm deep. That's what they did in this one. They went short a ton, and then you see him go over the top for a beautiful ball to DJ Moore. I forget what point in the game that was. Maybe it was the third quarter, but that was beautiful. He looked good. Bears ran the ball 39 times in this one. That was mainly due to their big lead. They didn't run it super, super well, but Swift looked a lot better this game and last game than he has the first 3 games to start the season. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Rashawn Johnson didn't look great in this one. He got stuffed on the fourth down, but Caleb and the Bears offense had to be good in this game versus Carolina. We'll see how they do going forward against some better teams, but I'll get into it in a minute. They have a pretty easy schedule coming up as we've been talking about in the coming weeks up to this game. Hubbard for Carolina was still pretty solid. He finished with 97 yards on 13 carries for one touchdown. He was solid for them. He's been a good piece the past couple weeks. Andy Dalton really struggled though. Bryce Young even comes in late in this one, and he actually looked kind of solid on his first drive. They were playing back on him, so I get it. I'm not going to give him a ton of credit, but he did have one really good ball there, and then he has a turnover on downs in the red zone. But the wide receiver core for Carolina is really getting beat up. Leggett got hurt in this game. They're already down Thielen. Deontay Johnson's been so good for them, and Mingo and all those other guys have kind of just been pretty much mid. The Bears win this turnover battle 3-0 in this one. It was pretty tough for them to have any chance to lose this one. They move to 3-0 in Soldier Field on the year, and their next what is it? Their next four games are very, very easy outside of the Commanders. And well, Commanders and Cardinals are both solid, but they go Jags, Commanders, Cardinals, and Pats for their next four. Three of those games are away from Soldier Field. One's in London, two are away. They have to go minimum 2-2 in that stretch to be a legit team. I think they definitely can. I think they could easily beat the Jaguars. I think they could easily beat the Patriots. And who's to say they can't take one of Commanders Cardinals? But this was encouraging. This was a game they had to look good. I was going to come on here and be super, super critical of their offense if they didn't look good in this one, but they did what they had to do. They took care of business and they moved to 3-2.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that spread for the Jaguars game already. 2.5 point favorites. Give me the Bears easily as 2.5 point favorites right now. But I agree, this was Caleb Williams' best game of his career so
The
far.
Jags. I kind of like the Jags. I kind of like
No,
the Jags.
dude, I think the Bears are gonna
It's
smoke
London.
them.
It's London.
Oh, I forgot that's
Mommy,
London.
the Jags are home. Come
I
on,
forgot that's
bro.
London. The Jags lost, I think, their first game in London last year, though,
Are
and
they
then I
in?
think
Are
they
they
won their
doing
second
a
one.
3 week stay there again?
I don't know if
They
they
gotta be. I'll look it up while you.
if there's only one, I have to kind of like the Jags, but I think this Bears team matchup against the Jags is perfect for the Bears. Caleb Williams, this was probably the best game of his career so far. I think it'd be better than the Colts one last week. 304 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Completes 69% of his passes. Really got going with DJ Moore in this game. 105 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns for DJ Moore. And shockingly, or maybe not shockingly, but the run game for the Bears looked very good in this one. DeAndre Swift has 73 yards rushing. I shouldn't say it looked great, but it looked better. 73 yards rushing, 120 yards from scrimmage overall. Maybe the best he's looked so far this year. And then defensively, the Bears just dominated the Panthers offense. They couldn't get anything going. Andy Dalton had a nice start first couple games with the Panthers offense, but it's kind of fizzled out. He has not been good the last 2 weeks. We see Bryce Young come in late and complete a couple nice throws, but also had a couple shaky throws as well. But just nice kind of seeing him out there playing football. Chuba Hubbard has a nice carry early, 38 yards. Gets the touchdown on that first drive for the Panthers. Look like their offense might get going, but in the end, it just fizzled out, like I said, and the Bears just dominated this game. Made sense. This is kind of what I expected this game to be like going into it, but the Bears offense did kind of surprise me a little bit. I thought this Panthers defense had been better recently. I still don't think this Panthers defense is good at all, though. So it'll be interesting to see if the Bears can back it up next week against another secondary that's struggling.
Yeah, they do. The Jaguars do play after the Bears in London. They play the Patriots
Oh,
again.
perfect.
So,
See, okay. So Bears
so that'll
next
be an
week, and
easy
then
win. That'll be an easy win. I don't know, man. I mean, that's a home game. They. I'm not sure if they count as home games though. I didn't. I did not look
I
that up.
think this first one probably will count as a home game, and then I think the next one won't. Because I remember
Both.
they played two
No, they're
last
both
year.
home games.
Oh, that's crazy.
They
Because I
lose
remember last
two
year,
home games on it.
I think they played the Bills in the second game, and they counted the Bills as a home team.
Let's see. One, two, three, four, five, six,
I
seven,
the
8. Okay,
the
so they have
Colts,
them. They have them scheduled to play 9 home games, 8 away games. So it's really 7 home games, 8 away games, 2 neutral sites for them.
yeah.
If they would have
Well,
had
no,
that,
London is
yeah,
the Jaguar city.
yeah. No, you're right. You're right. You're right. That is a home game for them. But regardless, um, they get two winnable games in Jacksonville this year, though. Bears are
Yeah,
a winnable game. That secondary looked good at one point this year.
yeah.
We'll get to the Jacks later. But moving on to the Commanders and the Browns, 34-13. Commanders win this one over the Browns, and it's over. It's over for the Browns. I was high on them going into the year. What did I hold on? What did I pick for them? What spot did I finish? Have them finishing? Second in the North, so that's just great. But they can
Wow.
get third still. They can get third still. It's not out of the
I'm
question.
trying to think. I think I might have put him at third. I'd have to go.
I know I had Steelers at. Or wait, no, did I have
I know I had
Bengals at
Steelers
four?
at 4. I think I had the Bengals at 2, and then Ravens 1. Because I've always been one
Yes, yeah, because
that's
we
been,
flopped Browns and Bengals. I had Bengals three, Browns two.
yeah.
Sorry, I can accept that. Because I came out on a pedestal saying that the Bengals weren't going to be good this year, and I was right about that. So I'm cool with being
It's
dead
not
wrong
dead
about the
yet. It's not
Browns.
dead yet. It's not dead yet.
They're not dead yet either, but or no, I shouldn't say either because the Browns are, but the Bengals are not dead yet. You're right, but still, it's not looking great for them. Anyways, the Browns have the worst O line in football somehow. It's just it's unbelievable. They how many times? Deshaun has been sacked 26 times this year. That's eight more than second place, with who's Geno Smith with 18. He was sacked seven times in this game against the Commanders front that I don't really think is that good. This is definitely on Deshaun, but this is completely on their offensive line and their wide receivers dropping passes too. It's not just Deshaun. I know it's easy to paint a target on him. I know he's a bad guy, and it's easy to be like, yeah, he's bad. He's way overpaid. He's completely letting this team down. And I agree with that. He's not playing nearly as good as he played in Houston, and he definitely didn't always have a great receiving core and a great O line in Houston. So you have to put blame on him. But at the same time, you get sacked 26 times. It's tough to win games. I mean, ask Sam Howell. Sam Howell did probably look better than Deshaun has looked this year, but it's tough to win games when you get sacked that much. This offense just as a whole has been shit. They're all responsible. Washington's pass defense actually looked solid in this one, which tells you all you need to know about the Browns because this unit is not great for the Commanders in the secondary, and they looked solid in this one. Daniels wasn't as amazing as he has been this year, but still very good for him. Commanders rushed for 215 in this one. Scary Terry is having one of his best years already with Jaden Daniels. I think he's had so many quarterbacks in his career. I think he's finally found the one that he's going to stick with for a while, and I think he's going to be effective because Daniels seems to like him. Washington, crazy part is Washington loses the turnover battle in this game too, and they still win by 21 points. The Browns' schedule is so bad. Have you seen it going
No.
forward? They have the Eagles, the Bengals twice, the Ravens twice, Chargers, Saints, Steelers twice, Broncos, Chiefs, Dolphins. I am going. It is 2:40 p.m. Central on October 7th. The Browns are officially dead. It's over. There's no coming back. There's no way they're going to be able to win enough games with this schedule to figure it out. It's over. Pack
Yeah,
up Nick
it's
Chubb for next year.
yeah. Well, I mean, they opened the practice window for Nick Chubb, so it seems like he's gonna have
Practice him and
to.
then bench him.
Yeah. I mean, if they don't activate him, he'll be done for the season. But as much as I've never really been a sacks or a QB stat guy, but I think there's a balance. I think at some point sacks can be a QB stat, and I'd put probably about 50% of these on Deshaun Watson at the same time. I mean, I saw just a stat of Jameis Winston versus Tom Brady in Tampa Bay, and just everywhere Tom Brady has been, and the sacks would go from like the 40s to the 50s, and then Tom Brady comes and it gets down to like 25, 20. I think Deshaun Watson just kind of has to get the ball out quicker. I think they need to get this offense more simple for him. With Nick Chubb back, it'll obviously help the run game. They need to develop more of a run game, but I think they're dead already. I think they're almost too far out of it. I trust the Bengals being able to come back way more than I trust this Browns team because we've talked about the Browns' strength is their defense, and here their defense just gets absolutely carved up by
They
Jaden
honestly haven't
Daniels.
really been good all year. I
They
I was
haven't.
try I was trying to hold out for them because they have so much talent, but they really just haven't been good at all.
No, they have not been good overall all season. Jaden Daniels, I feel like every time I would see this game on Red Zone, the Commanders would be turning the ball over, but they'd be in basically the red zone already. Then the game would be back on, and the Commanders are in the red zone again. The Commanders' offense is lethal. Don't get me wrong, but I think this Browns defense, with how much talent they have, they should be able to slow them down and at least hold them to under 30. With especially with the amount of turnovers that they had. I mean, I guess they only have two total turnovers, but a couple fumbles that you weren't unable to recover. Commanders defense back to back weeks they play very good, which if this Commanders defense can also perform, that would be scary and could almost put them in contention to win the NFC North or be like the favorite to win the NFC North 2 weeks in a row. The Browns were 1 for 13 on third down, 212 yards total as an offense. Commanders, I just, I think I'm going to say the Commanders are legit. I trust this team. The Browns defense has given up the seventh most yards in the NFL through 5 weeks.
Yeah, it's bad. The receivers have also all been bad. I
Yeah.
Amari Cooper leads the league in drops. I'm assuming still he did be going into this week. I didn't think he dropped one this week, so I'm assuming he's still in the lead. Jerry Jeudy hasn't been great. Elijah Moore's been bad. Njoku really hasn't played. Jedrick Wills comes back in this one. Still no improvement for them. Their O-line's been beat to shreds. Teller's on the IR. They're yeah, it's over for them. I hate to say it. They were one of my sneaky teams going into the year. I thought Deshaun actually was going to have one of the best year of his Browns career so far, and that just doesn't happen at all. It's very disappointing to see. Not for him, but I'm talking for the
Yeah.
Browns. As a Lions fan, I have just a built-in sympathy and a built-in fandom for the Browns because they are just the AFC Lions, and I hate to see this is the era where they should have been able to hit their stride. The Browns should have been able to hit their stride right when the Lions did. And man, that Super Bowl would have been beautiful, but the Browns are just dead in the water. If their line was as good as it was last year, this team is like 3-2, 4-1. That's really the
Yeah.
difference. Because Deshaun hasn't looked good, and I agree with you. A lot of the sacks are on him, especially when he gets pressured and you see him just run all over the. He has a tendency to just not take a sack. He likes to run 10 yards back and gamble. Like maybe I'll lose 10 more yards, but maybe I can get a pass off. And most of the time he doesn't get the pass off and he loses 10 more yards. So the yardage is on him. But at the same time, he's also getting just enormous amounts of pressure against D lines that aren't even that impressive. So
No.
it's tough. It's tough to watch. It's tough to watch. And they're
But
in a division that we crowned the best division in football. And one team has looked great, two teams have looked bad, and one team has looked okay.
yeah, and on top of the thing for Deshaun Watson is he's obviously an unlikable guy considering everything that's going on with him, but he doesn't lead this Browns team at all. He doesn't look like a leader ever. I mean, we see in their pregame huddles, he's never giving a speech or anything. It's always Jameis, the backup quarterback, is the one leading the team in huddles, getting the team going. We saw him walk off the field on the fourth down. I mean, he had a reason to. They had 12 men in the huddle, so they weren't going to be able to call a play anyways. But the way he walked off the field and kind of just walked past the head coach, it just doesn't seem
He
like
hates
something a leader.
Stefanski. He
Yeah,
hates him.
and we see on Twitter a bunch of people claiming they have his burner, and the tweets from the burner are just hilarious,
Deshaun or
making fun.
Stefanski?
Deshaun.
I didn't see that.
Oh yeah, it's.
What was he saying?
You want me to hear? Deshaun Watson burner. It's all
It's
just
it's
number
called
four is
Deshaun Watson
fine.
burner.
No,
Oh,
it's
four is fine. No, I've seen that. I've seen that. It's
Leroy
always referred
Leroy
to as four.
Bickers Leroy
Yes,
Bickerstaff.
that's been out since the beginning of the year.
Yeah, free
That one's been
four.
rolling.
These broke people are gonna find out one day. 4th and 2 in the red zone, and we simply can't get a play call right.
I
What,
mean,
what do you mean? Four was trying to keep the team in the game, but Kevin took the ball out of his best player's hands.
is there ever a tweet during a game or
There
no?
was one at a halftime.
That would be hilarious.
There was a tweet at
Be like,
halftime.
nah, fuck him.
Wish they would send four to a serious team, and you guys would find out real quick.
Who realistically, and we're getting off topic here, and we'll move on to the AFC North game in a minute here, but who realistically could trade for Deshaun Watson that it would genuinely benefit them as a team? Is there a single
Patriots?
team in the league?
No, not the
No, they
Patriots.
want to
No.
tank.
Yeah. Um. I'd say right now the
Carolina?
Dolphins.
Dolphins, yeah. I don't think they can afford him though.
Yeah. I'd say the
And
Dolphins would be the only team like Matt that would probably a team that has the talent to make the playoffs, but
Ooh,
without Tua.
I thought of one.
But
Seattle.
I trust Gino way more than I trust Deshaun.
But going forward, Gino's much older than him. Deshaun,
I mean, yeah, going forward, I guess, but
no, I trust
I
Gino
trust
way
Gino
more than
more than
Deshaun
Deshaun.
too. But I don't know. I want to say I would like to see what Deshaun would look like if he had like a good O line, and but we did last year.
Yeah.
His O line was good last year, so
I mean, the Raiders.
yeah, but I think that's gonna be all the same. I think that's gonna be the.
That's what. Yeah, I think that's pretty much.
I mean, we
I
saw
mean,
those two teams play each other here.
yeah. Whose defense is better in that matchup? I don't know.
Ugh, I
which is
still think the
crazy to
Browns. I
say.
still think the Browns.
I think it has to be the Browns. It's just, man,
They're similar though. One phenomenal edge rusher, and the entire rest of the defense is questionable.
yeah. And when the edge rusher's banged up, and it just makes the defense like that much worse.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll stay in the AFC North here with the Ravens winning in overtime, 41-38 over the Bengals. I'm not gonna. I hosted the Browns funeral today. I'm not gonna host the Bengals funeral today yet, but they are on. They're in. The Bengals are in hospice right now. It's about to end for them. It's really sad to see. If not really, but it's kind of sad to see. You build a team that's not built to run the ball. You build a team that wants to flashy throw it down the field. You build a team that doesn't have a defense. Newsflash, Bengals. We're not in the Big 12. We're in the NFL, and you can't win in the NFL if you can't run the ball and you can't guard anybody. And that's what the Bengals are. I said it in the preview, or maybe it was the recap of the Bengals last week, but they're currently built to be a team that has to put up 40 every game to win. And even then, you don't know. They put up 38 in this one and they lose in overtime. Like their defense is just so horrible. This was probably the best game of the day, though. The Bengals were in position to win it for a while. The Ravens looked great out the gate, and then the Bengals took a lead into halftime. I believe they led 24-14 or something like that in the half. Lamar and Burrow combined for 740 yards and 9 passing touchdowns in this game. They were both phenomenal. Tough game for Derrick Henry for most of it, but he breaks a huge run in overtime to win this game right after McPherson misses a rare field goal that would have won this game in OT for them. I said it in the preview. I just don't believe that a team that can't run the ball or defend is ever going to be able to be successful in the NFL, especially when you're playing the Ravens twice. You're playing the Steelers twice, which the Steelers are built to beat this team. You're playing the Browns, which at this point, no, the Browns are probably a free win for them, but it's really, really hard to turn around a 1-4 start in the NFL. It's really hard to come back and make the playoffs. Do they have a chance to go? What is it? There's 12 more games left. Do they have a chance to go 10-2 and finish it 13-6? Is that what it would be?
No,
No,
11
no.
and 6.
Yeah, 13-6 would be 19. 11-6. Yeah, they do. They have an opportunity to do that. 11-6 doesn't win their division. 11-6 probably gets you the 5 or 6 spot in the wild card, and that's if they go 10-2 to finish the year. I think it's even tough for them to go probably 8-4 to finish the year, and that puts you just above 500. So I'm not going to say it's over for them yet. Let's see. Hold on. What does their schedule look like going up here?
They have to have played a decent amount of their hard games already, I'd
At
assume.
Giants is, I mean, that's a tough game for them. I don't think that's an easy game for them. The way the Giants' offenses looked, they're going to look fine against this Bengals defense, and their defense has been great. Browns probably a win. Yeah, I mean,
I
they
think they got
definitely
some
have some.
winnable games.
They have some winnable games, but they definitely have like they're not going to sweep Pittsburgh. They're probably. I don't see how they beat Baltimore again, or even get close to beating Baltimore.
The Cowboys is an interesting matchup.
Cowboys is interesting. The way that the Bengals defense has been, I could see Jim Harbaugh being able to control that game against them. I don't know. I mean, we're sitting at a point where we are first week in October, and the Bengals. I think we can agree. I know you believe in the Bengals probably a little more than I do, but I think we can agree they have to go 8-4 at the minimum. They're not going to make it
Yeah.
under
Oh
500.
yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
they have to go 8-4 at the minimum. I don't believe that's going to happen. It's unfortunate for a Bengals offense that is really starting to heat up, and Joe Burrow is looking great right now, but it is what it is, and can't start 1-4 in this league. It's too good of a league.
Yeah. I mean, they should have won this game. They had this game won. They got conservative multiple times to lose them the game. Joe Burrow looked great, and then he just has one play where Jamar Chase says he ran a bad route. The interception was his fault. Joe Burrow says it was a bad throw. It was his fault. And Zach Taylor, I think, blamed the team. So very interesting between those three. They could have went. I mean, they had a field goal to win the game. McPherson misses it. It was a windy day. He tried to play the wind, kind of how Justin Tucker did, but Evan McPherson is not Justin Tucker. And I've
It wasn't on
talked.
him though.
I
It
mean,
was
oh
on
yeah,
a bad hold.
the bad hold was
Yeah.
the main issue. The holder did terrible. Somehow, I'm shocked McPherson decided to go through with the kick. Once I would see the ball on the ground, I would probably just panic.
I
The way,
was thinking the same thing.
the way McPherson just kept going and just kicked
I
the
know.
ball. I was like, wow,
And he got a
that's
great kickoff for
yeah. I mean,
for
it
the
had the leg.
yeah, I know it was that was I was thinking the exact same thing when I saw that. I'm like, I would have just grabbed the ball if I was the holder. I would have grabbed it and fucking ran.
Yeah,
I would have taken the fuck off. You look
but
like a hero if you get the first down.
yeah. Uh, there's so much that can go wrong on a kick like that, where just get the ball into like a territory, get it to the 25, at least try to get it in better range. They didn't really try. They just ran the ball up the middle. And we've talked about it. They're not a team that can run the ball well at all. So just doesn't make sense to me. Kind of diabolical to do with Joe Burrow and him having the game he did, 30 for 39, 392 yards, 5 touchdowns. Him and Jamar Chase were on it all day. But you choke it like that after you were gifted the ball in field goal range already due to just a drop snap from Lamar. Just doesn't make sense to me. The Bengals all season have kind of found ways to lose games that they should win. I mean, they punted away week 1 against the Patriots. That was an easy win that they just blew. The Ravens, after starting their slow start, I think they were 0-2. I mean, Lamar Jackson's playing like an MVP again. What can I say? He's probably up there in top 3, top 5, 4 MVP right now. 348 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Absolutely ridiculous. He had the red zone play where he stiff armed Sam Hubbard twice, put him on his belly, and then just throws a beautiful touchdown to Isaiah Likely. Just phenomenal. Him and Zay Flowers were on it all day. 7 catches, 111 yards for him. And I didn't know this, but after they started week 2, someone tweeted to Lamar and said, please tweet Johnny. Do you remember the Johnny thing from last
Yes,
year?
yes, 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 yes.
And Lamar retweeted the tweet about Tweet Johnny. And ever
Wow.
since they're 3-0 and Lamar looks like an MVP again.
Yeah.
There's
Uh,
something about Johnny.
we knew the Ravens were going to be fine though.
We did.
0-2. I mean, they had a tough start. They played
We did.
Chiefs and then the whole they played.
They blew it to the Raiders.
Right. Yeah, but they should have won that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the tough thing for the Bengals right now is their ideal matchup is a team that has a horrible secondary and also can't pass the ball. Like the problem is there's not many teams who fit that build in the NFL, so every game is going to be a struggle for them. The one team that kind of fits that bill is the Carolina Panthers, who they already used their one win against. So it's tough, and that was a close game too. So yeah, they're
I think there's a couple teams though that can kind of fit that. I mean, I think the Jags have the bad secondary. I don't trust them passing. If the Colts have Anthony, if the Colts have Anthony Richardson at QB, maybe we kind of fit that matchup. I think the Colts might have the worst secondary in the NFL, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, the
but
Colts could be that. They match up well against the Colts. Do they play the Colts?
No.
Well,
no.
Guess that goes out the window then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lamar is. They said it on TV. He's 9-1, I think, versus the Bengals now. Very impressive. He has matchups that he seems to dominate, and this is just another one of those. He's looking like an MVP candidate again, and when the man tweets Johnny, there's really not much he can do to stop him.
Yeah, I think I'm going to start curating a list for this year of all 32 teams, and I'm going to cross off each team that I think is just dead in the water. I think honestly, there's not that many teams that I think are fully dead yet. Like I said, the Browns are one of them, and
Browns,
the
Panthers,
Patriots.
A
couple of the teams that didn't have expectations.
I'm sorry, but I'm putting the Jags in there.
Yeah, they're probably dead too. I mean,
I'd say that's 4.
If the Bengals are
Raiders,
almost dead at 1-4, the Jags are dead at 1-4.
Yeah.
That's just the deal with them. But yeah, well, my point of that is the Bengals are not crossed off now. If they lose next week, there probably will be. If they have to go 8-1,
the Colts came back from 1-5, but we weren't in the toughest division in the NFL that year.
Exactly.
The
Lions came back from 1-6 and they got to 9-8, missed the playoffs. And they played the best football they had played in like fucking 20 years in that stretch. So yeah, we'll move on here to the Texans defeating the Bills 23-20. The Bills fall to 3-2 after an electric 3-0 start, where they beat up on the Jaguars. Who else did they beat in this stretch?
Dolphins.
The Dolphins, who didn't have Tua for most of it, and then they barely beat Arizona at home. So yeah, I held off on my hype for the Bills like I have in years past, and I'm going to continue to do that. Josh Allen, though, was horrible in this game. 9 for 30 for 131 yards. Doesn't turn it over in this one. You're just not going to see that from Josh Allen on a game-to-game basis, so I'm not going to overreact to that. My concerns with the Bills my concern with the Bills has never been Josh Allen. Yes, I've had criticisms of him because I think at times he could be reckless. This year, my concern has not been Josh Allen. This was just a horrible game from him that is kind of an outlier, but the Bills still almost win this one. Akers had a great start for Houston, but then they went to Wale, and he was just horrible. Is there, am I mishearing the name, or is there an Wale in the WNBA too?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
Enrique Ogunbowale.
Yeah, and
That's
are they
she went to
related?
Notre Dame. Yeah, that's her brother.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she went to Notre Dame. She hit the game winner in the Final Four the one year and
Yeah,
the
I know
championship.
she is
She's a
more
baller.
she's more relevant than she's on the
Yeah.
Wings, right?
Yes, the Dallas
Yeah,
Wings.
not in the playoffs, but we're not going to cover WNBA on here until the team wins. But I got the liberty at this moment. We still haven't talked playoff baseball. We're like 2 weeks in, but regardless, yeah. So Agubuala comes in. He was bad. Did Cam Akers get hurt in this one?
I have no idea.
He had to have because I didn't see him get hurt, but he had a great start and then just kind of didn't get the ball after that. It was
I don't
9 carries
see
for
an injury
42.
anywhere. So
But yeah, he was a Akers was solid for them in relief of Damian Pierce, Joe Mixon. Forget there's another running back I think that also got hurt. Their running back room's completely beat up. But Stroud looked really good versus a weak Bills secondary. He did throw one pick in this one though. Texans offense was good, but they just kept settling for field goals over and over and over. They should have had more than 23 points in this game. Unfortunately for them, they don't. They go put up 14 in the first quarter and then go field goal, field goal, field goal, and that's how they finish the game. Still win it though. Bills win the turnover battle 2-0 and still lose because of how bad their offense was at times in this game. As much as I've been calling the Bills frauds though, you just cannot expect Josh Allen to be this bad in multiple games this year. I don't think that's going to be the case. James Cook was really solid for them. He kept them in it on his 20 carries. That was very encouraging to see. If Allen was just a smidge better in this one, they probably win it. But regardless, they fall to 3-2. The Texans move to 4-1 with their only loss being to the 5-0 Vikings. So the Texans have pretty much hit expectations through 5 games in this season. I think the Bills are as good as their record shows at this point. Like I said in the last one, I had them as like the 7 seed going into the year. Now that the Dolphins probably won't have Tua for a while, the Jets have looked questionable at times. I do think that the Bills are definitely going to be a playoff team. I don't think they're as fringe as they were, but they have a ton of holes, and I don't currently have them on my contender list. The Texans, I do.
yeah, this is one of Josh Allen's worst passing games of his career, going 9 for 30. Fewest completions by a quarterback with 30 pass attempts since 1992. Rough game for him. This Texans defense really showed out here. One of their better games of the season so far. For the fact that the Bills still had a chance to win, it was crazy. They were able to run the ball a little bit. James Cook averaged 4 yards a carry, solid. Josh Allen ran the ball a little bit. He was okay. But the biggest issue was almost the time management by Sean McDermott, especially late in the game. They had the ball on like the 4 yard line, 1st and 10, like 40 seconds left, 30 seconds left. You could just run the clock, make the Texans at least use all their timeouts so they don't have a chance to use a timeout and get into better field goal range. They elect not to. Once you pass on 1st down, I understand passing on all 3 downs, but when you run the ball all 3 times, you at least make them use all their timeouts. They don't really have a chance to stop the clock. They're going to kind of have to kick the field goal right away, and it's going to be a 60-plus yarder. Instead, they give them that 3 timeouts. They run one play, get about 6 yards. They make it a 59-yard field goal, and Taimi Fairbairn is just absolutely money. He's going to make that kick, another game-winning field goal from 50-plus yards. This was a 59-yarder. Fairbairn's one of the best kickers in the league, definitely top 5. He's the Texans' all-time leading scorer. He got the game ball from him, well-deserved.
We forgot him when we were talking about top 5 kickers the other day. He's in that for
Oh,
sure.
yes,
He's up there.
100%. Yeah, 3 for 3, hit from 59. He's phenomenal. CJ Stroud, 2 turnovers, interception, and a fumble. Had 331 passing yards. Not his best game, but like you said, they were unable to get the ball in the end zone a couple times. Their defense won them this game overall. Bad coaching from the Bills hurt them. But Texans at 4-1, that's big for them. They have what, a 2-game lead on the Colts now, so that's big.
And you were running it well with James Cook too. So I don't understand why they don't run it there. If you run it and you get a 1st down or you get a 20-yard
Yeah,
gain at some
it's
point,
overtime.
then you can pass it. You have enough room then. You worst comes to worst, you punt it and you pin them deep and they can't do shit because they use their timeout. So
Yeah, I mean,
I don't get that.
yeah, worst comes to worst, the game just goes to overtime and
Right.
you can win the coin toss and go win the game from the 25 or
And
30.
you have a running quarterback. You could even run a read option. You had options.
Yeah.
Passing it, you didn't have to pass the ball. Yeah, I didn't
Scott
have
Hansen was heated when they did that.
I didn't have red zone on this week because there wasn't enough games. I was like, I could just box it in every game. What do you
Yeah.
say?
He just didn't understand what the Bills are doing. He was like, "What are they doing?"
I
I
love
don't.
when he starts questioning the team. But
It's like
moving
have you the Vikings when Brett Favre threw an interception in the playoffs, the what's it called? The radio announcer was like, "I can't fathom passing in this situation."
I love it. I love when an announcer really criticizes the coach for their decision. Like,
Yeah.
oh my god. But I did say that I boxed every game in and didn't watch red zone this week, but that is a lie. I had 5 games on. I didn't watch this next game here,
Oh,
Jaguars
don't blame
at
you.
Colts. But this game was
Oh, I
wild.
thought you were. Wow, this is the game you elected not to watch.
I had the under on the Dolphins game. I had
Oh,
that
I
sound,
was gonna say.
but it was the one game I didn't bet on in the first slate, so I was like, I have to just let this one go. But Jaguars at Colts. This game was wild to have not watched because most like 48 of the 70 whatever points were scored in the last like quarter of the game. Like it was crazy. How many points were scored in the fourth quarter of this one? 41. That's just absolutely wild. 48 points in the second half of this one between these two teams. But great games by both Trevor Lawrence and Flacco in this one. Two secondaries that are more than questionable in the Jaguars and Colts. Colts were full of injuries. Their injury report was like a novel before the game, and it just hurt their run game so badly. Fries gets hurt in this one. Josh Downs, though, is emerging as a target machine for the Colts. He just seems to always be open underneath. He's going to get a ton of grabs. I think he had, what do you have, 9 in this one? Yeah, he had 9 catches for 69 yards, which isn't a ton of yards, but 9 catches is super impressive. And he's going to continue to be that safety blanket for whoever they need, whether it's Anthony Richardson or Flacco. Jags had their best offensive game by far against a beat up Colts team. Brian Thomas Jr. goes 5 for 122 and a touchdown, his best game. Lawrence had just 6 incompletions in this one. Colts run defense was solid, but one big tank run really carried the entire Jags run game. They finished with 126, but 65 of those are on one run. So the Colts run defense has pretty much figured it out the past 3 weeks, even without DeForest Buckner. They're a solid unit now. And honestly, like I said, a very low scoring game for most of this one until the last 5 drives. Both teams scored 24 points on their last 5 drives in this one. So that was absolutely unreal. But the Jaguars were able to do enough in the first half to set themselves aside against a beat up Colts team. The Jags were due for a win. They always tend to win against the Colts in Jacksonville. And what are we at now? 12?
It was 2014. I think it's 10.
Yeah, 10. It was 9 straight going in this one. Yeah, close.
Yeah, just two secondaries that are bad. You said it, very bad. In the middle of this game could have been way more high scoring than it was. For some reason, second and third quarter, both of these teams kind of decided to kind of just maybe not the Jags as much as the Colts. In the second and third quarter, the Colts elected to kind of not throw the ball downfield at all, and it really hurt them. They were just throwing underneath, kind of running the ball, not picking up much yards and punting. Just I didn't understand that tactic at all. Once we opened up the field in the fourth quarter, started throwing the ball downfield, Joe Flacco took over and dominated the game. We scored 24 points in the fourth quarter, throwing the ball downfield to Pierce. I think Alec Pierce has like what 3 targets? Yeah, 3 targets, 3 catches, 134 yards. Should have been 2 touchdowns, but they called one back and put it at like the half-yard line. Continues to be one of the best downfield threats in football. You said it, Josh Downs, great security blanket. AD Mitchell was okay in this one. He's still completely afraid of getting hit by NFL players. If the ball's in a place where he thinks he could be hit while catching the ball, he kind of just elects to not go for it. He's kind of got to figure that out and just take the hit, man. Just you're in the NFL, take the hit. Jaguars could have probably put up 50, maybe 60 in this game if they would have in the second and third quarter again. It'd be third and like 2 or 3, and they'd try to run the ball. It's happened maybe 3 or 4 possessions. If they would have just passed the ball this entire game and really not ran, I think they would have still won this game easily. They have the one big run with Tank Bigsby, like you said, that really skewed everything. Other than that, he was slowed down, but we see him get 13 carries, Travis Etienne gets 6. And watching the two run, I genuinely think Tank Bigsby is better than Travis Etienne. I was high on Etienne coming out of college. I thought he'd be great, but ever since he's been in the NFL, kind of like Trevor Lawrence, just hasn't really lived up to the expectations that I had, and I realized that pretty quickly. I don't think he's that great. Trevor Lawrence has his best game of his season, easily one of the better games of his career. 371 passing yards is a career high for him. 10 for 12 in the fourth quarter, 117 yards and a touchdown. Really continues to get the ball to Brian Thomas Jr., who has 122 yards, a touchdown, had an 85-yard touchdown on Dallas Flowers, which was just an embarrassing defensive play from him. The Colts trusted, for some reason, the Colts' only secondary addition was getting Dallas Flowers back from a torn Achilles, which a cornerback coming off of a torn Achilles usually is never a good thing. And especially a cornerback who wasn't that good before the Achilles injury. They try to, it just doesn't make sense expecting him to deliver this season. They cut him this morning, actually, so he was the scapegoat for this defensive performance. You look at the teams the Colts have played so far this year and their quarterback play. CJ Stroud obviously looked good. Malik Willis looked great. I don't think he's a great quarterback. Caleb Williams had the best game of his career up to that point. Justin Fields had one of the best games of his career last week, and Trevor Lawrence dominates again this week. At some point, I think it's just the Colts defense is that bad. And I mean, they are dealing with a ton of injuries. Trevor Lawrence was under pressure. I don't know if we got a pressure on Trevor Lawrence in this game at all. The defensive line genuinely just could not get to him at all. He doesn't get sacked once in this game. That's going to change next week against the Bears. Definitely, he's going to be under pressure, and I think that's going to hurt him a lot. Colts gave up 3 plays of 60 plus yards. I mean, the defense was absolutely terrible. On offensively for the Colts, they looked solid as when they decided to throw the ball downfield with Joe Flacco. Like I said, when they got the ball to Pierce deep, he was good. Michael Pittman was quiet in this one. That was unfortunate. And like you said, they lose 10 straight now in Jacksonville. Will Fries goes down and gets carted off with a broken tibia. He's done for the season. He's already on IR. That one really hurts. He was having a breakout season in a contract year. He would look like one of the best guards in football. So this offensive line that has played together basically every game last year, they're down Ryan Kelly already, and now they're down Will Fries for the season. Hopefully we get Kelly back next week, and maybe Tanner Bortolini moves over to guard. It'll be interesting to see. Dalton Tucker was not bad. He was an unrestricted rookie free agent. He was solid, but just hurts to lose a guy like that for the season. So Jags get their first win. I still don't think they're contenders at all.
Okay,
Colts should
three.
get Anthony
Yeah,
Richardson and Jonathan Taylor back next week.
next week, yeah. Three very quick things before we move on to the Dolphins Patriots. One injury update: Evan Ingram is going to be back in Jacksonville, most likely for London against that game against the Bears, which it's this game is listed on DraftKings as a home game for the Bears though. So I don't know what it is.
Really?
So
I can't
ESPN
imagine
has
the
it as a home game
McCaskies
for the
would give up.
Jags. But yeah, right now there's no way they would give up. They already don't have enough seats in there. What else did I have? Two. Oh yeah, is is French a tackler or guard?
He's a guard. I
Oh,
don't know. I don't know if we still have Wesley French though.
oh, you guys don't have him anymore?
I can't remember if we
French coming
because
in and
well, he's a center,
relieving Fries would be great. Oh, he's a center. Oh, I thought he was.
but yeah, he got injured in preseason and
Oh, so they're both down.
he broke his ankle. Yeah,
Jesus.
French fries is dead right now
And and then my
for the
final
season.
thing, craziest line of the week. Have you looked at the Commanders Ravens line for next week?
Are the Commanders favorites?
No, guess what it is though. It's at Ravens.
Pick them
6.5 for the
for the
Ravens.
Ravens. Wow,
6.5.
that doesn't shock me. I thought it was good. It would shock me more if it was pick 'em. I guess I don't
Well,
know.
yeah, it would shock me if it was a pick 'em too, but 6.5 is crazy.
I think there's going to be a lot of people flocking to the Commanders, and I think that's going to
I'm
put me on the
taking the Ravens
Ravens.
minus 6.5 for sure. Everyone's gonna bet that Commanders line. That Commanders line is gonna be like fucking 3.5 by the weekend. But moving on here to the final noon game. Dolphins at Patriots. Dolphins win this one 15-10. Super uneventful game here. Snoop Huntley looked a lot better in this one than he looked in his first game. Achan gets hurt early in this one, but Wright and Mostert do solid jobs for Dolphins on the ground. Wright goes 13 for 86. Mostert goes 19 for 80. I thought Stevenson was supposed to get benched. I heard he was going to get benched for Antonio Gibson in this game, but He doesn't. He leads the team in carries with 12. He goes for 89 yards and a touchdown. He was solid. Both teams were fine offensively, just had so many stalled drives. They were combined 1-4, 1-for-4 in the red zone between these two teams, which explains why they were able to get so many yards, but they were not able to score many points at all. Dolphins absolutely had to have this one if they wanted to survive. I know they barely beat the Patriots. It's not impressive, but we don't know what the deal is with Tua. We absolutely don't know what the deal is with him. Did he go on IR?
Yes, two is on IR.
Okay. So he's on IR. We don't know if he can come off IR, but the Dolphins have a solid defense and they're sitting at 2-3 on the year. Dolphins next six at Colts versus Cardinals, at Bills, at Rams, versus Raiders, versus Patriots. They're definitely able to stay above water. 6 weeks from now, I think it's 7 because they have a bye in there. So we're looking at 7 weeks from now. That will be 10 weeks post injury for Tua. If they can go in this stretch and go 3-3, they're sitting at 5-6 with a good defense, good weapons, a solid coach in a division where the Bills are shaky, the Jets are shaky, and the Patriots are just bad. I am not ruling out the Dolphins yet because there's a chance Tua can come back and their schedule is so easy in that stretch.
But the
If Tua
weather's
comes
getting
back to a
colder.
5-6 Dolphins team,
The weather's getting colder though.
it is getting colder. That is a problem. That is definitely a problem for them. But yeah, they're not out of it yet. Patriots are.
I don't think the Dolphins are out of it. Snoop Huntley looks, I guess, better in this game. 18 for 31, 194 yards, doesn't go for a touchdown. They got in a field goal range multiple times to kick field goals, but missed one of them. You get a blocked punt, which really hurt. Special teams did not help them in this game. The Patriots special teams tried to win them the game. Wasn't enough. The Patriots offense had chances to put this game away, but could not get it done. Jacoby Brissett continues to just look mid to bad overall. I don't think they have the talent really to compete week in and week out. I thought I saw that Antonio Gibson was going to be like the starter for this game over Ramondre Stevenson, but Stevenson gets 12 carries. Gibson only gets 6. Stevenson has a good game too, 89 yards and a touchdown on only 12 carries, so 7.4 yards per rush, had a 33-yard, but their offense doesn't have enough to get it done. They're kind of tanking. I expect them to continue to let Drake May ride the bench up until maybe the last 2 or 3 games of the year, then let him see the field a little bit just to get see some defenses and know what to work on going into the offseason. So, as much as the Patriots suck, I think they're kind of just doing exactly what they have to do right now. Get a top pick, get maybe a defensive weapon, offensive weapon, who knows? Maybe trade back and get multiple picks, beef up the offensive line. I don't know. But I think they have to just continue to tank and look for a top draft pick and let Drake May study a little bit under Jacoby Brissett.
I think they're I think they're considering Drake May next game though.
I just don't think that'd be
I thought I
smart
saw
yet.
that. I don't know if I agree with that, but it's possible. I
I think you just let him develop right now. You see, I mean, I guess some of the rookie quarterbacks right now are starting to show up. Jane Daniels has been phenomenal. Caleb Williams has looked better, and Bo Nix, we'll talk about him soon, but he's looked better. It's different for everyone. Maybe he's ready to go. But I mean, all the rookie quarterbacks last year, we've seen them struggle greatly early,
yeah,
except for CJ Stroud.
yeah, except for Stroud. I went and I looked to see what teams I would cross out as done. I have 5 teams as out. 4 of them are in the AFC. That being, like I said, the Browns, the Patriots, Tennessee, and Jacksonville. And in the NFC, I only have Carolina. I think every other team's in the race. But
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
yeah, because I mean, even the Rams, there's a path, and they're sitting at 1-4. But moving on here, the Raiders, I would consider too. And as we move on here to the Broncos beating the Raiders, 34-18. I actually wasn't supposed to go to that game next, but whatever. We'll move out of order a little bit. Broncos had a tough start in this one, but their defense really dialed in and won this handedly. Their defense has been so impressive. I think I saw that they are, I believe they're, let me check really quickly. I believe they're the number 1 fantasy defense right now, which is just
Really.
crazy. I know they were number 2
I
going
thought
into
it,
the
I
weekend. They put up like 20. So
either them or the Vikings. 'Cause I
they're
checked
still 2.
yesterday
Vikings are still
and the
1. Yeah.
Vikings were one, but I don't know if that has it updated or not. Which the
Yeah, I
Vikings I
don't.
think had like 17. So
So yeah, they're probably those are 1-2 easily. But Broncos have been super impressive. 2 defenses that we didn't expect to be this good, and they both been great. Minshew gets benched for AOC in this one. Neither one really had any success. Great game for Bo Nix. You just spoke 9 for 27, 206, and two touchdowns for him. He's really starting to figure it out. Sean Payton, it seems like he has this group ready to go with his young quarterback. Denver ran it well, but nothing crazy in this one. Bowers for the Raiders is going to be a top five tight end really, really soon. He is dominating. Denver wins the turnover battle 3-0 in this game, which is really the story of it. They scored 34 unanswered after going down 10-0 early in the first quarter. The Raiders didn't score again until a late touchdown in the fourth. Denver, very similar to last year, had a bad start, not as bad this year. Had a bad start, and then now they're looking like a scrappy team that's slowly working their way back. They're up to 3-2 now. Do we see what we saw from them last year, which is they get to where they need to be and then they regress and they don't make the playoffs? Or do we see them break through and have Bo Nix have it? Would be crazy if this Broncos team made the playoffs. It would be wild. But this is the year more than ever of run the ball and play defense. And the Broncos haven't ran the ball well, but they play defense so well that they haven't had to. And Bo Nix has been put in positions where he doesn't have to do too much, and that's what you do with a rookie quarterback. And he's shocked me so far.
Yeah, you've said it before. I think with Caleb Williams, would you rather have a great offensive line or a great defense? Sometimes the great defense to just let you have less pressure on you is better, and that's kind of what this Broncos team has done. They were down 10-0 early. Raiders were at threat of scoring again, and Patrick Surtain gets a 100+ yard pick six. I think that was to make it 10-10. Put them back in the game, and after that, the Raiders really didn't have much going. I think the Broncos scored 31 straight points unanswered to really take this game over. Bo Nix looks solid. 206 yards, two touchdowns, no picks. And the really surprising part for this Broncos offense is, again, they still don't really have a run game, yet they were able to, their defense kept them in it, dominated. They got good field position, and Bo Nix did enough to get them the points and the lead overall. The Raiders team is they're 2-3, but they say when you have two quarterbacks, you really have no quarterbacks, and that's kind of what this Raiders team is at right now. Neither Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell can really get it done. They're flip-flopping mid-game, and I think I just saw that Antonio Pierce said they don't have a commitment to either quarterback going into next week, so who knows who will start next week. I just don't think either of these quarterbacks can really get it done. You don't have Devontae Adams anymore, so it's really just going to be a lot of Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers, and the Raiders are another team that just does not have a run game, so overall, they're just going to be asking Max Crosby to somehow win games by himself, and that's not going to happen as a defensive end. So Broncos defense can win them games, and I'm after how they started this season, I'm very shocked they're in the position they are, 3-2.
Well, you said you made a great point there about the Caleb Williams thing and how would you rather have a great defense or a great O-line. He's had both to start the year. I mean,
Yeah,
the only quarterbacks that have started 5 games that have less sacks that have been sacked less than him is just Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Those are the two. So
and
it's
yeah,
good company to be in. His O line has been great. I mean, and honestly, I would argue that I I would have probably valued all those O lines not great to start the year. Definitely not Baltimore, and
no,
then probably definitely not
that's just
Broncos as
because
well. But
that's just Lamar.
they added. Did the Broncos add Cushionberry or did they lose him to the Titans? I forget. They added him, right?
Um, I think
I
they
believe
added
they added him
him.
because that was one of my favorite signings of the year, but I can't remember if it was the.
No, that's
Yeah,
Tennessee. Yeah,
no, he was on Tennessee. Now
no,
he
he's
went
on
from
Tennessee right now. Christian Barry's on Tennessee right now.
is he? Google says current team. Yeah, no, he is on Tennessee. Google says current team Denver Broncos though. So get your shit figured out, Alphabet Inc. But regardless, we'll move here to the Cardinals losing to the or beating the 49ers, excuse me, 24-23 in this one. The Niners are healthy and they're down to 2-3 now, which is just shocking to start the year. They get shut out in the second half and they give up 14 points in the second half. The 49ers had a turnover on all 4 of their second half drives, if you count downs, which is just unbelievable to only get 4 drives and to turn it over on all 4 possessions. Niners offense really struggled the whole game, though. A blocked field goal touchdown return was one of their 2 touchdowns in this one. Their offense looked pitiful. And this is a Cardinals defense that got fucking torched last week against the Commanders. And they come out here, they go into Santa Clara, and they shut down this Niners offense. That was super impressive. Purdy didn't look great in this one. He threw what, 2 picks or 3 picks? I
Two.
forget how many he threw. He threw 3.
Two.
Two.
Threw two
Okay, it felt like
picks.
three,
And
but and then he gets a touchdown, 244, 19 for 35, not great. But Cardinals join the group of teams that I'm just really unsure about right now. We've seen the Cardinals go out there and look great at times. They looked great in against Buffalo. They looked all right against the Lions. They looked great against the Niners here. They looked who was their other win? I can't. Oh, the Rams. They killed the Rams at home. So they've looked great in two of their divisional games so far. They're only two divisional games, which those are the games you want to win. So they're putting themselves in a good spot. And then I'm looking forward for the Niners here. And I'm not obviously giving up on the Niners. I still, even after this week, I still believe it's Chiefs, Lions, Niners as the best three teams. But the Niners have at Seahawks, Chiefs, Cowboys, at Bucks, Seahawks, at Packers, at Bills, their next seven. They're gonna have to go 4-3 against, even though I don't feel great about the Bills and I don't feel great about the Cowboys and the Seahawks, I'm kind of indifferent about. That's a tough stretch of 7 games right there. And they have to go at least 4-3 to be 500 after 12 games. And 6-6 is not even what you really want if you're a Niners fan through 12. That's a disappointment. And that's if they go over 500 in the stretch. So I think they will. I think they'll probably go something like 5-2, 6-1 in this stretch, and they'll really start to look like they're one of the better teams. They'll be like 6-4, 5-5, or I don't know. My math's fucking off today, but regardless, they have a tough stretch going forward. I think they're going to shock some people. I think we're going to have a chance here to make some money on some low spreads with the Niners.
yeah, and Vegas has been giving them the big spreads. I mean, I think they were what, it was 6.5 in this game.
Yeah, so, I think it moved up to like 7 by game time. Vegas
Yeah.
doesn't want to give up on them either. I don't blame them.
I don't blame them either. I mean, this 49ers team had a 23-10 lead at halftime. They were up 10 points in the fourth quarter. It was just like the Rams game where they had the big lead and kind of just blew it late, couldn't get the job done. And on top of that, Jake Moody gets injured during the game, so they just have no kicker, which again, I'll say it a million times. I just genuinely don't understand how punters can't just kick the football in like
Yeah.
emergency situations. You're already a kicker. I can't imagine it's that different.
Most of them probably kicked field goals at least in high school.
Yeah. And I mean, they didn't even try it either. They didn't even really give it an opportunity. I don't think
They
every
must
time.
already know.
Yeah, I wanted to see it if he had a kick attempt. I mean, he was 1 for 1 in his field goal attempt from 26 yards. So yeah, they had a couple plays where they were at like the thing was that they were at like the 30-yard line and they had a 4th and 20 and they decided to go for it and just didn't come up close at all. I mean, I would have just rather given the punter a chance to get 3 points there. And if you got those 3 points, you're sitting at 26-24 win right now.
And maybe
So
if Pat McAfee's the ref, he'll get 2 tries.
yeah, disrespectful, poor college kids. Hey,
I'm not a
100K
fan of
though.
the 2 tries. We've had like
Yeah,
3 people get it on the second try.
it can't be his money if he's doing that.
No,
Can't be his
it's
money.
definitely not his money. It's for sure Phil Knight's money.
Yeah.
Or not, no, not Phil Knight. That's Nike. Jesus. Who's the? I can't think
Yeah.
of the ESPN.
ESPN. Well,
It's
that's
Disney's
Disney.
money. It's Disney's money.
Yeah. The Arizona, they were able to just hang in there. Like I said, they were down 23-10 at halftime. They forced turnovers on downs, wins them the game. They were able to run the ball pretty well in this one. James Conner gets 86 yards on 19 carries, 4.5 yards a carry. Kyler Murray had a big 50-yard run to start the game. He finishes with 83 yards on the ground. Able to run the ball decently well. Kyler Murray was okay in passing, 195 yards and a touchdown. Did have a bad pick that really hurt him. But Marvin Harrison was quiet again in this one, only 2 catches for 36 yards. The turnovers is what really helped them win this game. And the injury to Jake Moody. The 49ers, since Shanahan was hired in 2017, the 49ers have lost 6 games where they had double-digit leads in the fourth quarter, which is tied for most in the NFL over that span. I would assume they're probably tied with like the Ravens. I think the Ravens have a ton of those as well, which is shocking that it's two of the top teams. But
Well, they have to get up.
yeah,
They have to get up to blow the leads. So
that is true.
it's not going to be any bad teams.
We've seen that happen twice now though this year with the 49ers. They have to figure this out and just put teams away late. I guess when you lose your kicker, it changes the game plan a lot, but I don't know. Just that you had to win this game and you just blew it.
And not to mention, they do it in 2 divisional games.
Yeah,
Two, or no, one was at home. The other one was in LA, but that's a home game for them.
that's a home game.
But yeah, if they don't figure it out, they definitely can't. They kind of have to sweep the Seahawks. Honestly, you got to, if you win out in the division, you're 4-2. Which if it happens to come to a tiebreaker, which They're not first in the division right now, so it could come to a tiebreaker. 4-2 is not a phenomenal divisional record. It's not going to guarantee you that tiebreaker.
No, and this is a division that I think we were pretty high on going into the season, and I mean overall it's not looking the best, but we'll have to see.
I mean that though will just set up for one of the teams who wins their division just getting absolutely fucked. Like they're
Yeah,
if they end up being a wild card team, oh my god, I would be livid if I was a divisional winner and we had to go play the Niners
yeah,
in
and
wild card round.
well, if the Niners somehow still win the division, they're gonna have to go up against. I would assume right now, what other? I mean, the Commanders are top. They'd probably be the 4 seed,
If
and
they win
then
their
put
division.
them, yeah,
Well, they're
and then
only
put
a
them
game
against the
back from the
5 seed.
Falcons.
Okay, yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, 3 or 4 still.
Yeah,
It's rough.
which puts them in a spot to
Putting great
play
spot
one.
for the
Yeah, one of
NFC
the top
North
five
teams
right
right
now.
now. NFC North teams are loving this, specifically the Vikings and the Lions.
Yeah, well, that's the Niners thing. They're gonna have some game. Like I mentioned that stretch for the Niners. I didn't even look at towards the end of the year. I know they have the Lions at the end of the year. I don't know who
12:30.
else they
Yeah,
have, but I mean
they
those
finish
games.
their last game of the season is against the Cardinals, but they play Lions second to last week of the season.
Yeah,
Dolphins third to
but
last. Who knows if two is back then? Rams. So they have some easier games in this back half.
yeah, they just got to get through that 7 game stretch above 500. Anything
Yeah.
else puts them in trouble.
Lions and the Vikings need to keep winning to get ahead.
Yep. But moving on. Oh, they probably play the Vikings. Oh no, they already played the
No,
Vikings.
they
There we
played
go.
the
They already
yeah.
lost them. Yeah. But moving on here to the Packers beating the Rams 24-19. Jordan Love had one horrible play in this game where he almost
Will
had a
Levis-esque.
safety. Yeah, Will Levis ass play for sure. And then I forget who it might have been Darius Williams. I don't remember who it was for the Rams. Actually, he might be hurt out. I'm not positive, but easy pick six from like 5 yards out, and that really put them in a bad spot. They're losing in the half. Both teams ran it very well in this game. We've seen Cam. Oh my god, I almost said Cam Akers. Kyron Williams has been great all year for the Rams. Josh Jacobs was solid in this one. Rams went in the half with the lead, like I said, but those back-to-back turnovers to start the second half hurt them, especially when you go turnover, Green Bay touchdown, turnover, Green Bay touchdown. Really hard to battle back from that. Packers were 1 for 8 on third down in this game and still somehow won it. The it's it's very easy to be bad on third down if you just don't get to third down very often, and that's what the Packers did in this one. Green Bay has not looked smooth on offense, not as much as we would expect from them. With Jordan Love, they looked good against the Eagles week 1 against the secondary that's giving up a shit ton of yards. They looked great in one quarter against the Vikings, and then they didn't look great in this game against a Rams defense who I don't think is that talented, but their defense has been keeping them in these games. The Rams offense is strictly just struggling due to their injuries. They need to get some of their guys back, Cup or Puka or anybody on their offensive line. Stafford and McVay are just trying to make something out of nothing here, and it's just not easy for them. But we sit after this Packers win. The NFC North is by far the best division in the league as we currently sit. All 4 teams are above 500. I think they have a 3 game lead on the next highest division. So they're in a really competitive division here. We've seen the Vikings, who have been kind of a flash in the pan, didn't expect it. They look great on defense. Their offense is questionable at times, but they have Justin Jefferson, so they're going to be in a good spot. The Packers are a really well-rounded team. They were picked to finish second by a lot of people this year. The Lions are a juggernaut, and the Bears are a question mark. They have a great defense, and they have a rookie quarterback that has looked great and horrible. So this division, I'm not even going to try to make a prediction of who's going to finish 2 through 4 in this division, but it's going to be an absolute race for second place.
Packers, yeah, they escape with a nice win here. Xavier McKinney gets another interception. He has 5 picks in 5 games. Like just phenomenal. The Packers defense in this one were able to slow down Matt Stafford and the Rams, got the job done for their offense, which wasn't phenomenal in this game. The run game was a little bit better for Josh Jacobs. Finally, 19 carries for 73 yards. He out carried Emmanuel Wilson 19-6 in this one. We'd seen recently Emmanuel Wilson getting back and even out carrying him. Jaden Reed doesn't have as big of a game as he's had with Jordan Love as QB, but does have one big 53-yard catch that really helped them overall. Jordan Love, again, not the best game from him. You expect him to play a little bit better with how he finished last season. Has the one really Will Levis-esque play like you talked about, but he got better as the game went on. They're able to get it done late. Their defense gets a stop on Matt Stafford and the Rams. Rams offense was able to move the ball on the Packers defense, but again, they just continue to struggle in the red zone like they have all season. It's been their Achilles heel, getting the ball in the end zone. They're 1-4 now. They're in a rough spot, a spot you don't want to be in. I think they have the bye next week, though. That will be big with all the injuries they have. Hopefully, coming out of the bye, they can get Cooper Kupp back, maybe Puka Nakua. Just need to get some of these guys back from injury. They're a team that is really would really benefit from a bye right now. So it's big that they have them. The turnovers have kind of killed them recently. Stafford had one bad interception in this game that hurt. So just gotta use this bye week to get healthy and get your guys back.
Yep, moving on here to our final afternoon slate of games. Our final game here with the Giants beating the Seahawks in Seattle at Lumen Field 29-20. The G-Men are a scrappy bunch, man. They're there. DJ has looked very, very solid for 3 games now, and it's really starting to look like he's putting it together. Giants fans have to love that. Singletary was out in this one, but Tracy dominated 129 on just 18 carries. I got him sitting on my taxi squad
Yeah.
in Dynasty. I'm really hoping that works out for him. Giants win this one without without the league's target leader and Malik Neighbors. They still win it. Really was wide receiver by committee here in this game, but Darius Slayton goes 8 for 122 and a touchdown. He's been on this team for like 35 years now. He just continues to be reliable when they need him, and he was great in this one. Giants have ran it well all year. They ran it well with Singletary. They ran it well today or yesterday with Tracy. It's a testament to their O line really improving and not personnel improving, just individual interior improvement. It's like when Bob Nutting or Jerry Reinsdorf is like, we just need to improve internally. Like
Yeah.
instead of going to spend money. That's what happened here with the
Yeah.
Giants. They finally
I
saw
didn't
it.
even started with that.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I know. I read that whole message, and I'm like, you could have just
Yeah.
crossed off his name and put Bob Nutting on there. It would have been the same statement. but but yeah, Seahawks offense did not look good in this one at all. Scored just 13 points offensively. They had a big fumble six on the first drive of the game, I believe, to put them up 7-0, but their offense just wasn't able to do much. The Giants are very similar to the Broncos, in my opinion, who it's been so long now. I don't even remember if we mentioned this before we started recording or after, but the Giants and the Broncos are two teams that I like because they're so good defensively and they've been kind of able to run the ball and they haven't put their quarterbacks in positions where they've had to do too much. Their coaching has been good, Dable and Peyton, and now they're ready to start making some waves. I know the Giants are just 2-3, but this is a huge win against the Seahawks team that was playing well. And now I don't know if you saw this trend. There seems to be a little bit of a curse going on in the league. Teams are 0-4 now after the week after facing the Lions.
Oh wow.
Seahawks, Rams, Bucks, and Cardinals. So maybe the Seahawks just had to get over this curse. I'm not worried about the Seahawks. I think they're good. I think they just ran into a scrappy defensive team here.
Yeah, Seahawks, very scrappy team. We were both on them this week. Both good calls by us. Tyrone Tracy, the Boilermaker, was great. Had his best game of his rookie season so far. 18 carries, 129 yards. Good for him. 7 yards a carry. He was great. Darius Slayton with no Malik Neighbors really took over and had a phenomenal game. 122 yards and a touchdown for him. Wan'Dale Robinson continues to be a good safety blanket. 6 catches for 36 yards. I want to know how many catches it would take for Wan'Dale Robinson to get to 100 yards. It'd probably
Yeah.
have to be maybe like 45 catches for 100
Yeah.
yards.
He's a beast though.
He's been great though. He's phenomenal. He's like
I
solid.
think
He's
him
a
and
great
Neighbors are
PPR
both
guy.
top five. I think they're both top five in targets, which is just
Probably.
wild.
They're definitely probably both top five in receptions as well. Dexter Lawrence defensively for the Giants was a maniac in this one. He had 3 sacks. I think they had 7 sacks total. Dexter Lawrence had 3 of them by himself. He was an animal against this interior Seahawks offensive line. 7 sacks for Geno Smith under pressure all day. Did have a large run, which was good for him. They got gifted at a 100-yard fumble six where it could have been a Giants touchdown, but they gave it to the Seahawks for the 100-yard fumble six. Wasn't enough for them to get going. Kenneth Walker was slowed down in this one, only 5 carries for 19 yards. Very shocking that they didn't try to give him the ball more, but just didn't have enough offensively to get going at all. So Giants, scrappy team, good defensively, and Daniel Jones, another solid, good game from him. 257 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. I think I saw, I can't even remember what it was, but I think so far since that week 1 game where they played the Vikings, which at the time we didn't know how good this Vikings defense was. I think Jones has like 7 touchdowns, no picks, and is averaging like 200 plus yards a game. I mean,
So funny.
is he not bad? Maybe he's good. Who knows?
I mean, Minnesota, Daniel Jones is there. He just wasn't there week 1 against Minnesota. But
Yeah,
if that game was in Minnesota, he would have been fine.
yeah.
That's his bread and butter over there. But yeah, he's been great. Nothing else to say. He's been better than a lot of quarterbacks who he probably shouldn't be better than.
It begs the
Include,
question: do they move on from him next season?
I mean, I
I
don't think
fully
they're going to get
expect
that high of a draft pick. So,
I
and
fully
I'm not
expect
high on
them
Shedeur.
to like have a solid season. Well, I've been hearing a lot of mail road to the Giants, which would be crazy, but
I would be cool with that.
I've been seeing. Imagine he finishes the season strong, they steal a playoff win again, and then lose. You go into the offseason, you keep Daniel Jones, and week 1 next season, 3 picks, no touchdowns, like 20
Yeah,
yards.
get sacked 10 times.
Yeah.
That
By
would
week
be
4, he like tears his
hilarious.
ACL and he's done.
Oh my god. I mean, you already paid him, so there's no
Yeah.
reason to give up yet. I
Yeah.
mean, you already fucked up. So
Although I feel like
anything,
Giant it's been like a Justin Fields, Mitch Trubisky thing with the Giants where they've given up on him and then they're back and
yeah,
next week they'll give up on him, but then they're back.
that's also just. I think that's a lot of a testament to just New
Big
York and
market,
Chicago fans. Like
big market teams. Yeah.
everything's the best and the worst at the same time. But we will finish off this recap talking about the Cowboys and Steelers. The Cowboys win this game late, 20-17 in Pittsburgh. A long storm delayed this game about an hour and a half. Didn't finish till about midnight Central Time, 1 Eastern. Dak throws 2 picks to a great defense here, but he
And
does
2 separate
enough.
days.
Yeah, well, it's
It
crazy
was the first time I think that's ever happened.
that somebody's thrown 2 picks on back-to-back days
Well, 2 picks in 1 game on 2 days.
on separate days.
Yeah.
Damn. The more you know. Wait, though. Oh, no,
That was a
Pittsburgh games for
Twitter
sure.
stat. That was a
I was
Twitter
about to
stat,
say.
so
Would we still
could
count
be
that
wrong.
if that was a Central Time game? Probably not.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think we would count that.
One.
But yeah,
I don't
that's
know. Yeah,
those
I
two
don't think
picks
so.
on 2 days. But Steelers O-line injuries, we talked about it earlier when we were talking about other teams. I've heard them so bad, especially interior O-line. It's really hurt the run game. They lost their first round draft pick. They lose Samalu. They lose Daniels. They've been in trouble since those injuries happened. And the Steelers have been begging for a good O line for years now, and they finally seem to have had a solid unit, and everybody just falls apart. You hate to see it. It's very concerning that they did not run it well versus Dallas. Another solid game for Fields, though. He's holding on to the ball at all times now, which is huge. He's not fumbling. He's not throwing any bad balls that turn into picks. He's just been very reliable for them. Cowboys were 0-3 in the red zone in this game prior to that last drive where they put the ball in the end zone late. Red zone defense and takeaways kept Pittsburgh in this one despite a pretty poor offensive performance where the Cowboys had like 200 more yards than them. They were able to stop them in the red zone and have a few takeaways. The Cowboys turned it over 3 times in this one, still found a way to win on the road against a scrappy Mike Tomlin team. Cowboys are now at 3-0 on the road, 0-2 at home, and Detroit comes to Dallas next week. That's going to be a huge test for Dallas. The Lions are going to beat the piss out of them. Then they'll be 3-3 and see where they go from there.
Yeah, and right now they have to try to stay on pace with the Commanders, which is something I was not expecting to
No.
say at the start of this season. Dak Prescott had struggles in this game, especially with the turnovers. Again, we've seen that in his career where he can turn the ball over quickly at high clips. He kind of did that in this one, but he bounced back, has the game-winning drive, touchdown throw to Jalen Tolbert, who was solid. You didn't even mention we had posted on TikTok. I don't know if anyone saw it, but it was a Jake Ferguson versus Pat Fryermuth fantasy football matchup. Jake Ferguson comes out on top with a last drive reception. Absolutely electric matchup. They're saying it was the fantasy game of the decade.
And if it
Great
wasn't for
win.
that, catch, Frymouth would have lost the game on that lateral at the end.
Yeah, that, that would have been hilarious.
I would have lost my fucking mind if that happened. Just
That
genuinely,
would
I
have
would have
been
lost my
hilarious.
shit.
But just an electric fantasy football matchup for first place in the league. Love to see it. Game winning touchdown pass with 20 seconds left was big. The Cowboys needed this win with how their season and how their schedule still looks going forward. Dak shows up when they needed him the most. Rico Dottle seems to be the clear running back one for the Cowboys at this point. They actually ran the ball pretty solid in this game. 87 yards, 4.4 yards per carry isn't terrible for how this team's been. That's actually pretty good. Not much CD Lamb in this one. It was a lot of just Rico Dottle and Dak Prescott just spreading the ball out to a lot of different weapons all around the field. He had 352 yards and 2 touchdowns. Their defense, without their two maybe best players in Micah Parsons and Tank Lawrence, for blanked for a second there, but it looked the best it has all season. Gave up only 226 yards of offense. Cowboys got the Lions and the Niners in back-to-back weeks, so this was a win they needed to have. For the Steelers, it's just a disappointing loss. A game you should have won late. You had it, and your defense just couldn't get it done. Offensively, the first half was rough for Justin Fields. He kind of looked like the quarterback he looked like in Chicago. Only 4 completions. Only had one drive that went over 20 yards in the first half. In the second half, he's looked a lot better. He finishes 15 for 27, only 130 yards and 2 touchdowns, no picks. So it wasn't bad, but it was going against a defense that had struggled. You wanted to see more. And I saw a tweet from someone saying that they think there's a chance that Russell Wilson might start over him next week, which I don't know if that's the right decision. That would be very shocking to me, but I mean, again, for Justin Fields, not a great offensive line with how many injuries they have. Doesn't really have that many weapons to throw to. I watched a highlight tape of George Pickens' routes. I mean, we talked about him earlier, but I watched a highlight tape of George Pickens' routes. He really isn't even trying half of his routes. He's just jogging them, not giving the effort to really get open. So just disappointing from him. The Steelers have to figure that out. I don't know how they deal with this. Almost every year they have some sort of guy in the locker room that's causing chaos. It was Juju for a while, AB for a while, Lev Bell for a while. Now it's George Pickens. I
Don't
don't know
forget
how they
about
keep doing
Claypool.
it. Claypool, yeah. Somehow they still get winning seasons, but it's just there's always something going on in Pittsburgh.
Because there's no two more level-headed guys in the league than Mike Tomlin and Chris Boswell.
Yeah.
That's really the story. And we can't go talking about Steelers creating some locker room controversy without mentioning Big Ben.
Yeah. I
I feel
mean,
like we have to at least mention him in that conversation as well. But um, moving on here to our studs and duds for the week. I've been kind of on a trend where I haven't just been picking the best player. I kind of want to have a little bit of an, a player that you wouldn't expect to ever be a stud of the week that just has a really good week and maybe they're never good again. But I picked Daniel Jones a couple weeks ago. Go with Darius Slayton this week. He
oh
goes
wow.
8 catches for 122 yards and a touchdown. We just spoke of it. Somebody needed to step up when Malik Neighbors went out, the leading target guy in the entire league. It should have been Wan'Dale Robinson, who was like fifth in targets. He had a few, but Darius Slayton comes out there and goes 8 for 122 and a touchdown. He is my stud of the week.
You're making me want to pick someone like that, but I had written down Lamar Jackson, just the way he kind of willed this Ravens team to the win. Couple big plays, threw for 348 yards and 4 touchdowns, completes 26 passes to 9 different receivers. He was phenomenal. Made plays to win him the game and keep him in the game. He had said before the game there was Bengals fans saying there's no way that they're going to beat the Bengals this week, and he said, "Watch what happens tomorrow," and he went out and won the game. So I got Lamar as my star of the week.
Yeah, the Browns are my dud.
The Browns. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a shocking one.
I'm
Completely
they're not
shocking.
even deserving of an explanation. I've talked enough about
Yeah,
them
no,
today.
I
Browns
don't
are my
blame you
dud.
at all. For my dud of the week, I'm gonna go with the guy who I've been giving a lot of praise to for a long time, and I still think he's obviously one of the
Oh, I
best
should have. Fuck,
players
I
in the
fucked
league.
that one up. I fucked that one up. I fucked
Yeah,
that one
yeah. I'm
up.
going with Josh Allen, 9
Yep.
for 30, 30% completion. One of the worst games he's had in a long time.
Has to be his worst.
Yeah. I don't know. If this was Anthony Richardson, he would be getting so much
Oh
hate
yeah.
for throwing 30%. But Josh Allen does it here, only 130 yards, touchdown, no picks. He struggled this game, and he needs to really get going and lock in.
Josh Allen is like the guy who for a while people just love to be like, oh, if Josh Allen did this, oh, if Josh Allen did this. But really he's the one who kind of gets away with everything.
I wouldn't say he gets hurt with everything.
He
He
kind of
still gets
does.
hate. He still gets hate.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of a given. But that's about it for this episode of the Engage 8 podcast. We will be back later this week to recap Monday Night Football between the Saints and the Chiefs, recap this past week in college football, and get you ready for week 6 of the NFL season. Until then, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the links in our description for TikTok, social media, Spotify, and all that good stuff. And we'll see everybody in the next one.